Hi, everyone. This is Nicole Serrato, and welcome to the Children's Scholarship Fund Alumni webinar for the college experience. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a great panelist up for you today. I want to remind you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where you'll get updates on upcoming events. Today's events will be focusing on the college experience. And we have, first off, I want to explain a little bit about what is the CSF Alumni Group. So CSF gives scholarships to kids K through 8th grade, providing scholarships that allow their parents to send them to school of their choice. And once they graduate from 8th grade, they then become an alumni. Now, I'm an alumni myself. I received the scholarship when I was younger, and now I work with CSF, helping you all get more information. Next, we have the Young Leaders Board and the President Council, which is a young group of professionals in New York City who are dedicating their time and their resources to helping you with any questions that you might have about college and just volunteering their time, expertise, and experience. So we have them here on our panels today, and I can't wait to introduce you to them. So first we have Antoine, who works at ION in cybersecurity. He graduated from Princeton University. Next, we have Clay, who's a Young Leaders Board member who works for Prospect Capital Management, and he is a graduate of Ithaca College. Next, we have Hayden, who works at IBM and graduated from New York University, where he is currently studying for his master's in computer science. Tamika is a graduate of Temple University and now works at the New York City Cyber Command. And lastly, we have Tim, who works at HIG Capital and graduated from Cornell University with his bachelor's in hotel administration, finance, and real estate. So a very impressive group of panelists today who are here to share all of their knowledge with you. And so we're going to go ahead and kick it off with Antoine, and he's going to talk, each of these panelists are going to talk about what their experience was in college. And if you can make sure at the end of this presentation, any questions that you might have for any of the panelists, write them down, write them in the chat. You can either ask those questions anonymously, or you can put them in the chat and we'll bring you on screen to ask them directly to the panelist. With that being said, Antoine, if you can take it from here.
All right, thanks, Nicole, and hi, everyone. Excited to be here and share some lessons learned. Hopefully, this can be insightful, and looking forward to hear from all of you in the Q&A session as well. So for me, when I think back about my college experience, kind of like three key insights that I wanted to share with you all today. The first one being you don't want to lose sight of the big picture and kind of think ahead career-wise. And what I mean by that is that it's obviously easy to get absorbed with classes and social life and, wanting to do well in those, get good grades and take advantage of all the experiences that college has to offer. And it's kind of easy to forget about the reason why you're there in the first place, right? To land a good job at the end of it all. And so I really encourage you to try to always keep that long end goal in mind, and then kind of reverse engineer it based on that. And so try to find alignment between what you're interested in and what, knowing what your long-term goal would be after college, what kind of industry you want to work in maybe, and then, through talking with alumni and or rising seniors that have jobs, trying to figure out, okay, what did they do? What sort of extracurriculars were they involved in, or what types of classes did they take that helped them to get to, that job that they're about to start. And that same insight would apply to choosing your major, right? It's like, yes, follow your heart and pick something that you're genuinely interested in. But I think trying to reach out to others and seniors, alumni, whatnot, and try to see what kind of jobs that they have based on their majors to inform your decision is definitely something that I wish I had done a little bit more of when it came time to picking my major. Second insight I wanted to share is really don't wait to get involved in extracurriculars. whether it's arts focused or a sports team or an engineering group, really whatever you're passionate about, there's likely going to be a club on your college campus with some like-minded peers that share that same interest. And it's not only a great way to really get, it's a great learning opportunity. And, you'll meet a lot of people. Some of my closest friends are from extracurricular groups that I joined. But for instance, I'm from an engineering major, and I joined an electric racing car team my junior year. And I had a ton of fun, met a ton of, great people. They're still my good friends, but I really wish I had, started and done that freshman year. So, learn from my lessons, and really you won't regret getting involved in extracurriculars. And then lastly, my third insight is, everyone talks about finding balance between your academics, your social life, your work, but I would encourage you to think more of it as a symbiosis rather than the balance. And what I mean by that is that, look, college is going to be hard, right? Classes are going to be challenging, your workload sometimes going to be a lot, but try as much as possible to make the suffering enjoyable. So if you have, a long problem set to do one night, try to get a group of people together and maybe, have some late night food with it, right? Like, you're still going to end up studying for 3 hours, and maybe missing out a little bit of sleep, but at least you'll be surrounded by people. It'll be a positive environment, and it'll really make your college experience a lot better.
So I guess I have 5 points that I really want to hit here. So the first thing is that kind of going off of what Antoine was saying, joining clubs really early was very helpful for me. I came in as a freshman and was actually living in a sophomore dorm. And so there were already all these circles of friends, and I kind of had to figure out how to make my own friends. And I did that through joining the ski club. And the ski club has a week-long event after winter break where everyone comes back a week early and just goes skiing every day and hangs out. And it was a really great opportunity to kind of just create friends that have lasted me a lifetime and are still some of my best friends to this day. So it's a great way to meet people. It's also a great way when you join early, it enables you to grow into a leadership position. And so, if you're joining an investment club, you're an analyst your first year, then you're a sector leader your second year, then you're a senior or an e-board member your junior year, and then maybe you're running the whole club by the end of it. But it's a lot easier to do that when you get in early and try to join your freshman year. I also would say that your friends will really make the difference in like the quality of your experience. People who haven't enjoyed college versus people who have, that's almost always the deciding factor in my opinion. And I really think that joining clubs is a great way to build those circles. The second thing I would say is just explore different interests. You should have a focused vision of what you want to do. But when you first go to college, it's definitely worth trying out using an elective or two every semester and just trying out different things. I actually stayed exploratory, which is like the undecided major, for 2 years, which is the most that you're allowed to. And that's because it allowed me to get the first shot at the electives in the class selection process. So that's kind of like a little loophole, I think, that was really helpful for me. And, I would take a look at that and see if that's a thing at other schools as well. The third thing I would say is networking is really important, and college is the best time to start. It's really important to stay in touch with everyone that you meet and continue to work on those relationships. One piece of advice I'd have there is build a spreadsheet or some kind of tool that has all of your network on it and will set auto reminders every 90 days or 120 days just to follow up with that person, because a lot of times you can just forget that someone exists, and then years down the line they're the CEO of a company you want to work at. So I would just try to get started on that early, and every quarter, every year, just reach out to those people and stay in touch. Fourth thing I'll say is staying organized can be tough with the mix of your social life and staying healthy and your classwork. And so one piece of advice there is to just use a calendar. So I actually started putting everything into my Google Calendar. I would put everything from gym time to eating lunch to doing laundry. And that would just really kind of help me know where I actually have time in the day to work on something, and B, it actually reduces your stress, I think, when you actually can see, oh, all this can get done in this amount of time. So it really kind of takes the weight off. And then the last thing is something that I didn't do in college, but I wish I did, which is business plan competitions. Most schools have some kind of business plan competition, and my school did, and I had friends that participated in them. And I would just say, if that's an opportunity, to definitely go for it. Even if you have a terrible business idea or no business idea at all, just make almond milk cookies or something. Just make something, because doing that gives you a great experience on pitching a business. And if that's something you might want to do one day, it's just a perfect way to get into that space. And then two, it helps you meet those entrepreneurial type of people that will be great connections later on in life.
I'm going to focus on two, I think, kind of core lessons that I learned from my experience in college, with maybe some ancillary lessons thrown in there. And I'm probably going to echo some of the things that Antoine and Clay said, but they both mentioned some lessons, some insights that I think are really, really important. So I'm going to start with kind of echoing what Clay said about exploring your interests. So as Nicole mentioned, I'm now back in school getting my master's degree in computer science. I graduated from NYU with a major in finance and a double minor in urban design and psychology. And over my 4 years as an undergrad, I changed majors 3 times and minors twice. So I did a lot of exploring. And one of the reasons for all that exploration was because coming out of high school, I felt absolutely certain that I knew what I wanted to do. I was looking back on it, I was so laughably arrogant about it, but I only applied to 4-year undergraduate business programs going into college because I felt absolutely certain that what I wanted to do was business. I wanted to go into marketing or communications or something to that effect, because that was what I had focused on to a large extent in high school. And I thought I would, maybe major in marketing and maybe double major in psychology or something like that. And I'm really thankful for the skills that I developed through my business studies and the experiences that I had going to a business school, but through just exploration, through the independence of being in college, going to school in New York City, and trying out different things, I discovered that, one, I discovered that I had other interests. Two, I discovered that the world around me was changing in a way that I needed to respond to. So even if you today, you kind of know what you're good at and you know what you want to do, maybe you'll see over the course of your 4 years that the opportunity set in front of you is going to change, and that may require you to adapt as well. So I just want to really emphasize what Clay said and what Antoine said about exploring your interests. Make sure you budget into your schedule some ability to take electives in areas that you might not find now I'm getting my master's degree in computer science. When I was in high school, Antoine, no offense, I thought computer science was for nerds and I didn't want to do it at all. But now I really, really enjoy it. So just position yourself to be able to explore. And this should be, I think, one of the primary ingredients that you take into account when deciding where you're going to go to school. Pick somewhere that gives you a good amount of academic flexibility so that you have the freedom to explore your interests. And the other kind of experience that I want to focus on is kind of bouncing back from failure. by many accounts, I probably did not have a great freshman year academically or even personally in a lot of ways. I definitely didn't do as well as I could have. And thankfully, I did much better academically in my sophomore, junior, and senior years. But I had a lot of friends who also didn't do as well as they could have their freshman years, and they either became discouraged and stopped trying, or I think in an effort to save their egos, they convinced themselves that grades didn't really matter. And so for that reason, they could stop trying also. And, you know, you can have different perspectives on whether academics really matter, but one thing's for sure, you need to be able to apply yourself. And so this is just kind of to say, even if you don't do as well freshman year as you think you could, or in a particular class as you think you should have, definitely don't let that discourage you. And, you know, print this out and or paint it on your wall if you have to, because it's easy to forget this. But I think it's one of the most important determinants in all of your kind of outcomes in life, whether academic or professional or personal in your relationships. It's how you respond to adversity and how you kind of stand back up when you fall. And kind of as some kind of ancillary add-ons to this point, I want to echo some of the things that Clay said. Also, probably some of the reasons that people I know didn't do as well as they could have was that they surrounded themselves with the wrong people who weren't encouraging them to do as well as they should have. And so the people that you surround yourself with are, one, because friendships are so important to your overall experience. Two, because you're going to adopt some of the characteristics of the people that you surround yourself with, and they're going to have a big influence on your perspective on life. And so just make sure you're surrounding yourself with good people. And also, I want to emphasize the importance of time management and time boxing. That was one of the important lessons I learned after my freshman year. And now, I like to print my calendar out and do everything by hand, but you break your day down into time intervals, and you're never gonna be as productive as you tell yourself you're gonna be in your calendar, but it's still really important to outline your days so that you give yourself some structure and something to strive for. And over time, you get better and better and better. And then you can do whatever you want. You can devote your time however you like, whether that's to school or to your relationships or to your personal interests. But it's such an important habit to develop. So those are my lessons.
Well, the word I want to emphasize and amplify is explore. I think college is the perfect time to explore who you are and what I call soul searching, because I feel like you do it multiple times in your lifetime. Whether you're 18, 25, or 32, like it's something that never gets old, and learning how to do that early on in your life is so impactful. So I'll go on from a different perspective, because I think Hayden, Antoine, Clay, they've really given a lot of great advice. So I'll come from more of a different perspective as far as why I chose the school that I chose. So I come from a suburban background, and one of the things that I knew that I wanted as an African-American woman was an African-American experience. And so I didn't feel connected to an HBCU. I visited, and I think visiting the school that you're interested in is so important. But I landed on Temple because out of all the PWIs, predominantly white institutions, Temple was 15% Black. And I was like, okay, this is probably the sweet spot for me. So I took that opportunity to really explore who I was and meet people and do activities that caused me to step out of my comfort zone. And so, I love New York City. I'm glad I live here now, but Philadelphia is small, it's manageable. It's a wonderful city. If you haven't got the chance, totally visit, have a cheesesteak. But Temple was the place where I was like, you know what, they have everything I need, and a city that I can just run wild in and find a new adventure every single day. So I really encourage, I'm not gonna sell everyone a Temple, even though if you want to, I will, to take the time to really figure out, what do you want to learn? What's important to you? And ask yourself those really important questions, because you're going to be asking yourself those questions all the time. It never gets old. It doesn't change. So with that, I really want to echo the importance of finding the right group of friends, because I found friends in my first day who I thought I was like, I'm never going to see these girls again. And 10 years later, we are still at each other's houses every other weekend. So finding the right people that encourage you, that challenge you, that are different from you, that are going to help shape your experience and help you see the world in different ways, because it a lot of that foundational stuff is what you're going to see at work. When it's time for you to graduate, you're going to get into the work and you're going to say, wow, 9 to 5, this is what people look forward to. This is what I worked so hard to get to. So having friends that are going through that, having people in your corner that can support you through that, because it's a transition, is really important. And so setting yourself up for the long term. What I'll say is, one thing is finding what makes you organized. So I'm a list junkie. I don't really like calendars because I can't see what's happening to the day of. And then I'm like, oh, 8 o'clock, I have this going on. So I'm a list person. I write a new list every day. I'm a sticky junkie. I keep stickies on everything. I have the electronic stickies, the regular stickies, the blue, pink, purple stickies everywhere. So find what makes you organized, because it looks different for different people. So those are 2 things: organized, finding the right people, getting out there and doing anything. I don't care what group you join. If you want to do I did SHRM, so I'm in HR, so I did Site Human Resource Management, but I also volunteered with animals. I did the drama club, like anything that I was offered that was within my time realm that I was even remotely interested in, jump into it. This is your opportunity. And it's your opportunity to, as Hayden said, and I'm glad you said it, is to be okay with making mistakes. So if it doesn't plan out your way and this isn't the right thing, it's going to happen over and over and over again. The best advice someone told me is that you're going to get told no 19 times before that yes. So be okay with the idea of it's just not going to work out, or give it a shot. Exploration is the word that I've heard so many times, and that is it's key.
Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us and this webinar today. Happy to share my experiences and core values that Clay, Antoine, Hayden, and Tamika all have mentioned are really great, and I echo those. And I guess to start off, a lot of people have mentioned exploring, but I think the core value of exploring comes to just being open-minded. And I was actually one of the few students going into college thinking I know exactly what I want to do. So I actually, I went into Cornell's hotel school thinking I want to, operate my own hotel someday. But it was actually not the case. I mean, I'm doing private equity in New York right now. That's completely different from running a hotel. So that was because I came into college pretty close-minded, but after seeing everyone at Cornell and just all these different people, it sort of opened my mindset up and led me to talk to a lot of different people. And I developed this open-mindedness that helped me communicate with people who I haven't even thought of, talking to before. And I learned something that I didn't know. And through that, I found interest in stuff that I just didn't even know I would have interest, or I didn't even know it existed in high school. So I would say the core value of exploring comes from just being open-minded, and I encourage everyone to walk into your first day of classes knowing that there are going to be a lot of changes, there are going to be a lot of perceptions that you might not have developed that you'll develop through those 4 years in college. And secondly, I want to tell everyone to make good decisions. And I know that that's very cliche, but college is full of 4 years that just really shapes who you are afterwards. And it's incomparable to any other 4 years that I spent in life. And I would say that, let's say you go, you make friends and you have a lot of different temptations, and a lot of people just face a lot of different events in life. And college is something, you're away from your family for the first time. You're there to make your decisions by yourself for the first time independently. And I would just say that, just something that I always do is, if I were to do something and I tell my family about it, would I be proud of myself? And I think that was the core tester that I have run for myself during the 4 years in college. And that really, really helped me. And that really helped me just to, walk in the path that I wanted to. And staying always true to myself, and not really being influenced of bad influences that, that can come from your college experiences. Because, not every good things happen in college, you have to understand that, you know, something bad can happen. But as long as you really put yourself into thinking that, you know, I'm going to make good decisions for myself, for my family, you're going to be in good hands. And I would say, thirdly, don't skip classes, or try your best to not skip classes. Because I know that sounds like a no-brainer, but you're going to have those mornings and those 8 a.m. classes that you just don't want to make it. But let me tell you, in the long run, you spending an hour in that lecture will save your time in the long run when it comes to the test, when it comes to homework. Everything that your professor has taught you is going to be tested, and you're going to be missing out. And you're just going to spend a lot more time after the lecture hours to catch up, when you could just spend that hour really focused among your peers and actually make friends during your lectures. So I would highly encourage everyone to not skip classes, and, you know, try your best to attend. And lastly, I just want to, you know, emphasize having a good positive attitude. You know, the fact that you have the opportunity to learn and get high degree, and just attending college itself is such a privilege. And you know, you're going to have your ups and downs in college, but you just got to know at the end of the day, you're getting this privilege that not everyone is getting. And I think just having a great positive attitude not only makes others around you happier, but more importantly, yourself. So I guess with all that said, you know, being open-minded, exploring, making good decisions, and, you know, attending your classes, and just at the end, just have a good positive attitude, and you're going to just know yourself after 4 years that, you know, college really shaped you in a good way. So those are my 4 takeaways.
All right. Thank you so much, Tim. That was amazing, all of you. Thank you so much for all the great information. I feel like if we ended the webinar there, I mean, there's so many takeaways already, but we're not going to. So we have the first anonymous question that just came in, which was, and so again, any of you can answer this. You can use the raise your hand feature. You can just jump right in. What was your first week at college like? And what happened those first few days?
So again, I had never been to Philadelphia prior to going to Temple. I don't even actually know why I made that decision. So I spent my first week going around the city. I, you know, did my classes. They were all mostly syllabus days. So like getting organized, but also like getting acclimated to campus, and then finding my way into the city every once in a while, because it was a new city to me. So yeah, I spent most of my time exploring and then making friends. So they always have activities for you to do the first week. There's never a dull moment. Like usually most schools have events planned every day and night for freshmen, so that you can find space and that you're not just like sitting in your room, not having anything to do. Like they find ways for you to have friends. We had kickball events and like things in the dining hall. Like there's so many ways for you to meet people. So I'm a social person. I'm an extrovert. I was out meeting as many people as I could. And again, most of those people I met my first week were actually the people that helped me move from Philly to New York, maybe 10 years later. So I took that first week, and I it's not what you know, it's who you know for me. So I made sure I made the right connections early, so that when it came down to classes and I needed people to study with and I needed people to hold me accountable, I knew exactly who those people were going to be.
So I can go next. So I think probably at a high level, a lot of people probably have similar experiences. There are a ton of social events. You know, the university wants you to go out and mingle with all the people in your class. You know, there may be social events organized off campus. You know, you're going to introduce yourself to people in the elevator and stuff like that. But probably different from Tamika. So, I mean, I met a lot of people my first week too. I'm less of an extrovert, I'm going to guess. And so I did not maintain relationships with most of the people that I met. And I would say, what's the most constructive way to put this? I mean, so I did not maintain relationships with most of the people that I met, probably for 2 reasons. One, because just in general, I'm the kind of person who doesn't maintain that many relationships. So my group of friends is like, you know, my core group of friends is like 4 people, and everyone outside that I'm not that close with. But also because you're just going to meet, especially going to NYU, I guess I can't speak for every campus, but your first week, you're just going to meet so many different people and so many different kinds of people. And this is where, you're really going to have to kind of exercise your people selection muscles. Going back to what we were talking about before, you don't want to get yourself stuck in the wrong social group in your first week. You definitely want to give yourself time to explore and to make a lot of friends and to make sure that you're kind of evaluating people objectively, or at least, to the best of your ability, and making sure that you're surrounding yourself and investing in relationships with the kinds of people that you're going to want to be friends with for the rest of your 4 years. And I guess I'll just throw in one other piece of advice there. This is something that I did not do well, but it's something that I think I would be better at today. And it kind of goes along with something that Tim was talking about. Your first week of college is going to feel so overwhelming. And in a lot of ways, it'll be, euphoric. I'm not saying it'll be overwhelming in a bad way. You'll be really happy probably to be independent and at school, and you'll be excited about starting this phase of your life, this journey. But you should have, some kind of practice that you can use to kind of ground yourself and regain perspective. Because when you lose the ability to kind of see the big picture, when you lose your ability to just see things more broadly, maybe remove yourself from your circumstances to some extent, and whether it's a spiritual practice or a meditative practice, or it could be fitness or walking, whatever it is for you. Something that you feel helps you ground yourself, so that you don't, Tim probably gave the best piece of advice that anyone could give: make good decisions. You should have something that you can come back to that you feel enables you to make good decisions. And that's going to be really important in your first week of college, because there's a lot of stuff going on and no one really knows what it is or how to manage it all. So
Very true, very true. If anybody else wants to answer that question, raise your hand before we go to the next one. Anyone else? Okay. So thank you so much, Hayden and Tamika. Those are great answers, and a lot of good information again. So the next question is actually kind of the direction that both of you went in answering the last question. So there are a lot of kids from my high school who will be attending the same college I will be attending. It would be great to know a group of people, but how can I make sure to make friends with the new people as well? So on the same subject, just slightly different direction. So I can go ahead and start off and answer this, and then whoever wants to go next. I would say it's great that you're going to have a lot of familiar faces there, and that might give you a level of comfort. But I would say something similar to what one of the panelists said earlier is seek out any clubs that you typically wouldn't be a part of. Just try to go outside of your comfort zone. I don't know if you've never tried chess before, and you see a group of chess and you're like, I don't know anybody in that group. They're not from my high school. Maybe I should join the chess club just to try it out. Because like someone said earlier, college is a place to just explore and try different things and meet new people. And so I think a great way to meet new people is stepping outside of your comfort zone and joining a club or a group, and trying something you've never tried before. That's going to give you a really good opportunity to meet people that you don't know. So if anyone wants to take, that's my advice. If anybody wants to take it next.
Yeah, I can jump in here. So I went to boarding school in New Jersey, not far from Princeton's campus, and a lot of the same kids that I knew also ended up going to Princeton due to proximity and whatnot. And so I think no matter what, you will tend to gravitate towards those people, right? Because they'll make you feel comfortable. But I think over time is the important thing of, to echo some of Hayden's comment on trying to find something that grounds you, right? And kind of like take a step back and try to actively make a conscious decision about, getting yourself out of that comfort zone, and rather than just, responding to someone's text and going to hang out with them that one night, say, okay, like I'll take advantage of X opportunity for, X event that's happening on campus and just throw myself out there, even though I might not know people. And then I guess the second part that I would also say is use your network to meet other people, right? So inevitably the friends that will make friends with other people. And that can also be like a great, bridge to find other groups of people that you wouldn't otherwise have known.
All right. Anybody else want to take that question, Clay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I agree with what you were saying, Antoine. And I also think that you don't really have to worry about this that much, because you're going to be put into all these different situations where you're working with people that are not those people that you grew up with. You'll be in group projects in classes, and you'll meet up with people from your classes to do study groups in the library. You end up being really good friends with the people on your floor usually. So whatever your dorm situation is, if those aren't all the exact same people, then you'll definitely meet new people that way as well. And then, as I said earlier, and as Nicole was saying, joining clubs is just so huge. And join too many clubs, and then pick the 1/3 of the clubs that you joined that you actually want to hang out with those people. I joined probably like 5 clubs that I just dropped because it wasn't a group of people I wanted to be with, or it just ended up not being super interesting to me. And then, stuck it out with like 3 clubs throughout all of college. But just try out a lot of different clubs and see who the people are and whether you like them, and you can meet people that way.
Awesome. All great advice. We're going to go on to the next question. How do you prevent yourself from stressing too much during college? That's a really tough one, because there is definitely a lot of stress, new things happening. Anyone want to take this one first?
Yeah, I can take this one.
Thank you, Tim.
I think that's always a challenge in college, and even a challenge for me, just in life, even today. I would say in college, just you need to understand your, you might be coming from, high school and now into college where, a lot of people are smart around you, and, people are ambitious on getting good grades, but you have to understand there's always a next opportunity. So even if you fail a test and you're stressing about it, a mindset that I always had was, there's always going to be a next test or another opportunity that I can make this up. And, that really helped me in the long run. And I'd say you're going to be surrounded by other people, like, your friends and your, as Clay had mentioned, the people on your floor especially helped me whenever, something stressful happened in my life during college. And I would just go to them and just, tell them, hey, this happened, like, what should I do? So I'd say just seek out and talk to friends. And by the end of the conversation, your stress could be gone. And a lot of times mine were gone after just having a good 10-minute conversation with my friends. So I would say, first, just know that you're going to stress no matter what in college. But second, you're going to have people and friends who are going to help you out.
That's great. Build a support system around you with everyone else who's going through the stress. We have another question. If anybody wants to answer this question, speak now. Forever hold your peace.
I'll just add one more kind of
Sure.
one brief additional note to Tim's answer. So yeah, definitely, you're going to be stressed, and if you stress about not stressing, you're going to be more stressed. So just it's not easy for everyone, especially if you're kind of academically anxious or socially anxious. It's really tough. But like Tim said, develop a support network. Try to be grateful as much as you can. Remember what an incredible privilege it is to be at college at all. And just try to always look at the bright side. And over time, it becomes a habit, and eventually you realize you embrace your stress more than you dread it. And I think that's the ideal. It's no doubt tough to get there, but you can get there over time if you put your mind to it.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you for that add on. And we have a next one, which I think is very interesting one, especially for kids when they first start college. So I heard it's good to get guidance from your instructors during office hours. Do you have any tips on how to talk to professors when they might seem intimidating? Anyone want to take this one?
I'll say something brief just to get the ball rolling.
Sure.
A really good thing is to look up something about the professor's background beforehand and come ready with kind of something in their background that you want to ask them about. Even if you just mentioned, you know, you look at their website and you see a research paper that they wrote with an interesting title, or you know, one of their research areas is something you're interested in. Go there, either mention, you could mention even only briefly that, you know, you're really interested in this thing that they're an expert in, and do they have any good resources to recommend to you, or are they teaching a class that you can take, or, you know, come with a more thoroughly prepared question than that. But if you do your research beforehand and you come with a small kind of point of interest to bring up, that I think goes a really long way, especially with professors who are so, you know, so devoted to their academic interests. If you can show that you actually put in a little bit of time to look at what they've done beforehand, that can go a really long way. That was my experience.
Yeah. Nice.
And I would echo that point totally. I think that's great advice in terms of establishing that rapport initially. And in addition to that, I think just showing that you're, you know, interested and invested in whatever subject it is in whatever class, right? Like coming to office hours with, you know, your notebooks with the problem sets that you attempted, and because often, you know, those professors are typically, you know, very invested in their own subjects, and so when they see that, you know, you're also interested and just, you know, intellectually curious, and they'll often be a good motivation for them to want to contribute to your success. So.
Yeah, and I'll
Definitely,
add one
Tamika.
thing.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Being mindful of your time. That if you're one out of X amount of students, and especially if you want to go talk about a grade, come prepared and be mindful. Come early. It doesn't matter if you're waiting outside their office for their office hours. Be mindful of their time. And it's the same people flexing skill, like understanding who you're talking to, understanding how to tap into their humanity, being yourself and being authentic, because a lot of people come in and they're trying to like impress them, but like sometimes it's just being yourself and being authentic, and then again being organized when you come into a space and you're taking up somebody's office hour time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's really good advice.
Yeah, I like to echo that before we go on to the next question, is just coming in with this like, I'm here because I want to learn. and I just need your help, and just kind of that willingness and openness about your vulnerability and their need for help. Oh, Clay, do you want to answer this before we move on? Okay.
Yeah.
go
One
for it.
thing just to add on, you can also take advantage of, if there's any group office hours, you can go with your friends, and it's a little less intimidating that way. And then maybe your friends or whoever you're with will ask a question that you felt was a stupid question and didn't want to ask yourself. So I found that pretty helpful. In the business school, we had a big trading room where some of the professors sometimes would just go kind of hang out and help the students. It was kind of like their way of doing group office hours. So I thought that was very helpful, just to kind of hear what kind of questions other people are asking, even if I don't ask anything myself.
Great. Okay, so we have another question from the audience. How do you balance coursework and papers with extracurricular activities, work, and having extra time to relax and hang out with friends? So that was a loaded question. Yeah, anybody want to, Tamika, do you want to take that one?
Sure. again, I think it's figuring out what makes you feel organized. I honestly, look, I think everyone has to crash and burn once to realize where their max is. And if you haven't
Amen to
crashed,
that.
then you probably have a little bit more to give. And I say this as someone that I tried the Red Bull thing. Trying to figure out like how can I stay active? I did the coffee thing. I was like, oh, coffee's bad for you. I'm gonna do tea. Tea didn't work. Sometimes you just gotta crash and burn and figure out what doesn't work and lead the way to what works. So that's where, for me, writing things down, if I write it down, that helps my memory. And that's what I keep to this day. I have a work notebook and a personal notebook. And to keep my personal life in order and keep my work life separate, that's what I do. So I think it's a lot of trial and error. I don't know. I think all six of us probably have different ways that we stay organized and ways that we manage our time. So a lot of times, it's like what the next person doing isn't going to work for you. Some people can't pull the all-nighters. Some feel like that's the way that they thrive. So just understanding that again, exploring, but trying it out, like trying out different ways, and being okay with failure in that aspect. Because I think that we've all tried something and it didn't work out, overwhelmed ourselves. I always said yes to things and did all the clubs and joined all the things. And I got to a point where I was like, yo, you gotta say no. Sometimes you just can't. And it's okay to say, no, I can't. But I had to get to that place that I was able to say it. And now in my, again, post college life, or able to say no when I just don't have it. And I see interns that we hire interns and they're like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Can you? But sometimes you got to figure it out on your own. Sometimes you just got to say no. I know that wasn't a full answer, but
No, that was a great
answer.
answer. That was a great answer. I agree 100%. It sets you up for how to balance your life. So I definitely agree with that. Anyone else want to take this question? All right, Anton.
I can jump in here. I think that's the main, Tamika said the main thing, but I would just say that there's no ideal, right? It's a balance. And so if if you go harder in one sphere, whether it's social or academics, then, if you're overcompensating, then the other spheres will suffer, but that can be okay, right? Like no one, not everyone's going to be a straight A student. You'll have friends who are, social butterflies and maybe don't take their classes as seriously. But at the end of the day, college, a big part of college is the experience and what you make out of it. And so everyone's ideal in terms of like that balance of the different spheres will look different. So just wanted to emphasize that. And again, though, to Tamika's point, definitely trying it out. And yeah, I think we've all had our crash and burn moment, and but that's part of the learning process, and we wouldn't be here without it. And so yeah,
Definitely. And very interesting that we did call this series, or this particular episode, the college experience. Because college is all about experience, right? So we have another great question. How can you take steps to get closer to figuring out what kind of career you want while you're in college? So I know some of you had some different paths. Some of you had like, oh, I knew for certain what I was going to do, and then it changed. So what steps did you take in order to figure that out and come to that conclusion? So great question. I'm looking at Hayden and Tim, because they distinctly talked about this. So I don't know if either of you want to kick this
Maybe
one
you can go
off.
ahead. I'll go after you.
Okay, I was looking at Tim because I feel like I've said too much already, but okay, I'll go first. Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really good question. So I'll talk a little bit about some of the steps that I think I did, and it's going to overlap with a lot of what we've said already. So one thing is take different classes. If you have a business school, an economics department, a psychology department, an engineering school, if there are introductory courses, if there are kind of courses with overlap where maybe you can kill two birds with one stone, like, I think in NYU's School of Performing Arts, there's kind of a design and engineering course or program or something like that, so you can get kind of different experiences through different courses. And that's going to require you kind of just sitting down and thumbing through the course catalog and seeing what courses your school has to offer, and then seeing if any seem interesting to you. And even if they don't seem particularly interesting to you, if they seem kind of curious or unique, you should take them anyway, because you'll probably learn something something valuable there. And it's also, you know, like everyone has said already, join lots of different clubs. Clubs are great because they don't use up any of your course credits. So, you know, you don't have to spend some of your electives on them. You can get good kind of practical experience and insider knowledge without, you know, necessarily using any of your course credits, or, you know, paying for course credits and stuff like that. So definitely join clubs. If you're in, you know, if you're in New York or Philadelphia, there are going to be so many off-campus resources that you could try also. You know, there may be, if you have some kind of tangential interest in coding, there's, you know, in New York, there's General Assembly and the Flatiron School, and they all have free courses that you can try out to try and learn something. I mean, the list of things you can do is almost endless, and that's part of what makes it so difficult. It's the resources, and even watch YouTube videos on things, on different things. You know, you read Washington Post articles and Bloomberg articles and other kind of, you know, professionally oriented publications, and then look up things about them. It's, you know, the resources you have at your disposal are almost endless, and that's part of what makes it difficult, because it can be, you know, daunting to try and figure out where to start. And, you know, it can be difficult to kind of organize yourself into how you want to tackle figuring out what you want to do later in life. But apply the different techniques that people have spoken about here. You know, budget your time, make lists of things you want to explore, and then cross things off those lists as you get through them. And then talk to people, talk to your parents, ask your parents to set you up with their friends, you know, reach out to alumni from your school, talk to your professors, talk to other students. Again, the list of resources you have at your disposal is endless, and I know that that's daunting, but hopefully some of those tips, some of you will find useful, because, you know, those are just the steps you got to take, I think.
Awesome, great advice. Tim, did you just want to go ahead and answer this one too?
Yeah, I would just follow up shortly. I mean, Hayden always hits the spot, but I guess to add on and build on, for me personally, like Hayden said, the conversation really helped me. And I think the courses, I would say they are helpful, but, you know, it's not really clear how the classroom applications really are applied in real life and reality. And you don't know that until you talk to people who actually have worked in the industry, or who have worked within the field that you are curious about. And like I said, I went into college thinking I want to become a hotel operator, until I met an upperclassman who, you know, pursued finance. And after talking to him, you know, I was like, oh, I might want to try something out in that field. And that led me to an internship, and hence, you know, a full-time career within that path. And I just can't emphasize just, you know, first having conversations, but second, just having open-mindedness, and for you to just explore interests that, you know, that you can only interact in college and by other people around you.
Terrific. So we're gonna go answer the last question, which is a really fun one. So we probably want to keep our answers a little shorter for this, because we only have 5 minutes left. The time went by so fast. So this is looking back at college, what do you miss most? So this is a fun question. I'll kick it off. I actually miss most hanging out in between classes and having conversations with my classmates. Like, I really miss that part, like the camaraderie that you build among, you know, the other students, you know, even when each person is heading a different direction. And I think that's just really unique. Like those relationships, like I think plenty of you said, like they last a lifetime. And so it's like that time you spend together. I think I definitely miss that about college, and just the ability to try new things. So whoever wants to go next, if we can actually all answer this question, I think that would be a great way to go out. What you miss most about college. So let's start with Clay.
I would say just spending all day every day around my friends. That was just, that there's nothing like it, and it's that's what I miss most. I have my best friend from college is actually moving into my apartment for 2 months this summer, so looking forward to that. But that's what I miss the most.
Careful what you wish for, Clay.
Yeah.
Anton, you want to go next?
Sure. So other than the close proximity to food, almost anywhere I was on campus, I would say it might sound a little masochistic to say that, but like I spent so much of my college time doing problem sets with friends and kind of like that bonding through suffering together in some weird twisted way. Really miss that.
That's amazing. I'm just going in order in how I see your boxes on my screen. So Tim?
Yeah, I would just say with people, again, my friends, because, we're all working right now. And I think, when you're working in New York City, especially, and meet people, you're sort of classified into your own industry, where in school, you're just a student, right, among students. So you get to meet other people really easily, and just that easiness in meeting people and becoming friends is something that I miss.
Amazing. And Tamika?
Yeah, I'll echo the camaraderie. I miss the shenanigans at all hours of the day. I miss the late night munchies all the time. Everything was always available. The accessibility is awesome. Yeah, and also just I think a level of carefreeness. Like, yes, always stressed all the time, but it's like it's a different type of stress. Because I guess college is that space where you can make mistakes, and it's a little more forgiving than current life we probably all live.
Exactly. And then Hayden.
Apparently, I'm a complete loner because the thing I probably miss most is being able to set my own schedule. Because I'm kind of a night owl and I work weird hours. I, stay up super late and I wake up sometimes super early, sometimes super late. My schedule is never really the same from one day to the next, or at least it used to not be. You never quite get back the ability to set your own schedule. But working from home has given me a little bit of that back. So that's been interesting. But yeah, that's probably the thing I miss most from college.
Oh, okay. Awesome. We all have different perspectives on what we miss. So with that, we're going to wrap up. We are going to take a quick picture of all of the lovely panelists. So I'm going to just go ahead and expand my screen and count to 3. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Lovely. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for all the advice, the knowledge, the experience. I'm going to be sharing a flyer because we're going to be having another event coming up, and I want everyone to know about it. So this is our next event. It's going to be diversity and inclusion. Please mark your calendars, everyone, for June 15th. Check your emails for registration. It's in exactly 2 weeks. On Tuesday, we have these every Tuesday for the summer. So that's the flyer. Again, thank you to all the panelists for being here, for sharing your knowledge. We really appreciate it. And if you're not following us on social media, please do so. I'm actually going to make it really easy for you to find us right here. So this is our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook. Make sure to connect with us. We are constantly posting stories about the alumni, about the scholars, about what CSF is doing. So connect with us on there. And with that, I want to thank the panelists one more time because you all did an amazing job. And everyone have a great night.
So Nicole, before we end, can
Yes,
I just ask a quick
sure.
question?
Yes, of course.
Is it possible, just in case anyone listening wants to reach out? I don't know. I haven't sent my email
goodness.
is anywhere.
So my apologies. I actually skipped over a bullet point. I think the whole taking a picture thing throws me off sometimes. But if you have a question for any of the panelists afterwards, you can go ahead and reach out to me, Nicole Serrato at scholarship.org. And then if they have a specific question for one of the panelists, so they want to connect with you because of your career or because of what college you went to, then you can specify that to me. And then they'll tell us like, hey, I really want to talk to Hayden, you know, about his scheduling. Please connect me with him, then we'll do so. But yes, this webinar is also going to be up on YouTube for all of our alumni to be able to access for anybody who is not able to make it today. So there could be future questions for people who are not present today who want to ask any of you, you know, more information. So did that answer your question? My apologies. That's actually
Yes,
on my
thank
list
you.
to say, but I accidentally didn't say it this time. But thank you so much for asking that. Anybody, any other panelists have any questions before we end? No? You all did really awesome. I can't wait to meet you all in person. I'm also a young leader, so I can't wait to meet you when things start opening up and we have some events this summer. But with that, have a lovely night and we will see you all soon.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Thank you,
everyone.
Nicole.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you.
Nicole.
Bye. You're welcome.